So here is the paper with all of my words on it that I printed out, and my handy dandy skull here that I'll be using. So first, let's look at the frontal bone. So that's right here in the front. Next is, let's see, I'm going to go down the nasal bone. Next is the parietal bone, and there's one on each side here. Next is the temporal bone. So that's the temples of the skull. Next is the sphenoid, which is kind of hidden up behind the eye, right here. Next, I'm going to do the lacrimal bone, which is right there in the eye socket, the tear ducts, lacrimal. Next is the zygomatic bone, and that is your cheekbones pretty much. Next is the ethmoid bone, and the ethmoid bone is, let's see, focus. Okay, so the ethmoid bone, let's see, is right there. Kind of nose slash eye socket there. Next is the vomer, just right there in the nose. Next is the maxilla. Sorry. And the maxilla is the upper jaw, so to speak. The mandible is the lower. Okay, next I'm going to do the supraorbital foramen. Right there, the little notches. The next is the infraorbital. It's right there, the nether foramen. And the mental foramen, right there. See their notches. Uh-oh, I keep falling. Okay, so then we're going to have the occipital bone is the back. And then, let's see, the lambdoid suture goes along there, the occipital. And then the squamous suture is right here. Okay, this one up here is the sagittal suture. And let's see, I'm missing one. The coronal suture is right there at the front. Okay, so let's take him off here, and I'm going to go down a few more here. Okay, so the glabella is kind of right in the center of the forehead. And then we've got, let's see, frontonasal sutures are right above the eyes there. Let's see, we've talked about the foramen. Okay, let's see. Let me go into the optic area. So the little dot right there, that is the optic canal. And then, it's hard to focus this little thing. So inside, underneath, kind of more towards the front here on the eye, is going to be the inferior orbital fissure. Okay, And then let's go up the nose here the best we can. So up the nose is going to be the middle nasal concha is part of the ethmoid bone here, and it's the top of that straight line. And then, of course, the vomer is more of the point right there at the bottom. The inferior nasal concha is on the outer edge of the nose there. And then we have the perpendicular plate. So the perpendicular plate is actually the straight line there at the top. And the middle nasal concha is over on the side, more at the top though. The middle is the top. So that can be kind of confusing. Okay, still with ya? Okay, so next I'm gonna do the, let's see, let's go to the laterals aspects.
You're gonna show the umi bone, followed by the husband bone, and the kiss me bone, and the love me bone.
Okay, excuse him. So now is the mandibular condyle, and the condyle is right there. It's kind of like the socket. It's kind of what it looks like. And then we're gonna have the mandibular notch, and that's the kind of the U there, the notch. The mandibular ramus is right here, and this is mandibular angle. And then the coronoid process is right here, kind of where it attaches under slash beside the zygomatic bone. So next is the mastoid process. So that is going to be this piece here. And the styloid process is going to be that piece there. Styloid's kind of like the pin. There we go. Okay. So then we have the external auditory meatus, is this indention you see. And then let's transition over to the anterior nasal spine, is down there with the vomer. So then we have the greater and lesser wing of the sphenoid bone. So going back to the sphenoid bone, the greater is going to be on more of the exterior, and then the lesser wing is going to be the more of the interior side of the sphenoid bone in the eye. Okay, so going back over here, let's look at the stylomastoid foramen. That's going to be, let's see, it's a tiny little dot. So you can barely see it there at the base. And then the jugular foramen is more of the indention right there at the base. Okay, so now let's look at the inside here. So right here is the magnum. So that's going to be the foramen magnum right here. And then right up here we have the crista galli. And then right there with it, see a better picture there, you have the cribiform plate. And then going back up here, the Turkish saddle, otherwise known as the sella turcica. Okay, so back in the skull here, So the optic canal right about here. And then we have the foramen rotundum, which is the little indention there. And then the foramen ovale is the one that's a little bit bigger, kind of an oval shape. And then the foramen spinosum is the teeny tiny one below that. And then the carotid canal. We have the canal. So right here, kind of like a literal canal. And then the foramen lacerum. We have, it's a hole-like substance, hole at the end there, kind of the carotid canal. Okay, so then let's switch over here to the mouth area. Let's see the best view. Okay, didn't see there. Okay, so we have the incisive fossa, and that's going to be right there in the center of the mouth. It's a little kind of indention. And then the greater palatine foramen is going to be, so here, kind of at the back of the mouth where my nail is going to be the palatine bone. And on the outer edge is the greater palatine foramen. So back there, towards the screw, is that palatine bone. Okay, so I think the only one I'm missing here is the internal auditory meatus. And that's going to be back in the skull, over just above the foramen magnum right there. It's kind of like a little indention. So that is all.